Hello everyone and welcome to the Artwave Festival. It's such a shame that the festival's not going ahead again because of the dreaded COVID, but we can still paint. So welcome to my studio here in Northumberland. And today I'm going to do a painting from the Coastal Landscapes book. This one came out about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago. And this book's got lots of different paintings in, coastal landscapes obviously, and they're all to do with watercolour. And in the back you've actually got pieces of paper, watercolour paper. That's the painting we're going to do. That one there. We'll do that today. But in the back, you've got watercolour paper with the drawings on. Now, you can either use those to paint on, or you can just use them as a reference to do your drawing from. Very handy little book, that one. And like I say, this is the painting that we're going to do. There might be a couple of changes, but it'll be more or less the same. And so what I'm starting off with here is a hill coming down like so. And that goes all the way across there a bit. Then we've got another one behind it. So, and as ever, it's my IKEA pencil here. I really should be getting a kickback from IKEA by now. And a little bit of land, which is nearer in the foreground, coming out there. With some bushy bits on top there. Very easy. And here's the road, little track, that comes out and around out of the painting there. And at the base here, actually I'll put my lake in first. That's just a straight line there. Well, straight-ish. Depends how much wine you've had really. And it has to be said I haven't had any yet, so there's no excuse for it not being straight. Oops. And there'll be a few trees and stuff here, but I'm not going to draw them. No need to draw those. As that comes down, I've got a bit of land coming out here. A bit of foreshore. And down here. There, drawing done. How easy is that? There's a few things that I haven't drawn, like the pile of rocks and stuff. I don't need to draw those. We'll just do those with the paintbrush. So we've got the outline of the painting then. And now it's time to slap on the sky wash first of all. Good big brush, 1.5 inch flat this. I use the Aquafine brushes, Dale Rowney. Everything I use is Dale Rowney, but these are Aquafine brushes. And I'll also be using Aquafine paint as well. Strictly speaking, they're students' quality stuff, but I find them very good quality, especially the brushes. I use the brushes, the same set of brushes, for my acrylics as well as my watercolours. So you just need one set of brushes. And I only use 4 brushes as well. I'll tell you about those as we're going ahead. Now, a little bit of yellow ochre in the bottom. Just a bit of that there. Stick that on there. Actually, I want that a little bit stronger. There, that's better. Just about the bottom half of the sky, but bringing it upwards slightly here and there. Wash out, squeeze out and mop up. Now, ultramarine blue. Bit of that, with a touch of burnt sienna into it, so it's slightly darker. Just a little bit of burnt sienna, look there. That's too much. A bit more blue. And lots of people ask, am I using pans? No, it's tubes of paint squeezed out, which have now dried. But then when you stroke over again with a wet brush, they're reactivated. There. ultramarine blue with a touch of burnt sienna, and I'm bringing that down into the yellow ochre a little bit, look, down there. Wash out, squeeze out, and mop it up again. Again, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, but a little bit darker this time, a little bit more burnt sienna into it. Plenty more blue in there, a bit more water. And we'll just have a little bit of that coming up here. Good and dark. Remember, don't worry about this kind of thing, because when you've got a pre-wet on, like plenty of water on first, it's always going to dry nearly 50% lighter than when you put it on. So don't worry about the dark. Just going to let that run down ever so slightly. Now wash out, squeeze out again. And for my clouds, all I'm doing with my 1.5 inch brush is suck some paint out. A bit more there. Just sucking paint out. Wash out again, squeeze out. I'm sucking out the water from the paper, but in between each stroke, I keep washing my brush out as well. That means I'm taking paint out rather than just moving paint around. And another one here, there. And that will more or less do for my sky. All I need to do now is give that about 10 minutes so that it's totally dry before I start my hills. Very simple. Now, my sky is just about totally dry, more or less. So what I'm going to do is start off with this big hill, but it's further away than this one. So I'm going to pre-wet it, and I've changed to my 3/4 inch brush this time. Look, you can tell what I'm talking about with these aquafine brushes. I use that for my acrylics as well. Look at the handle. It's a mess, just like everything I use. 3/4 inch flat, and I'm going to pre-wet it first with the brush there, and just go up to the pencil line, like so. More water. And bring it down to that middle distance line there. I'm starting off with a little bit of yellow ochre again. Plenty of water into this. Pop that on there. Going up to my pencil line. And bring that down a bit. Now, ultramarine blue again, but this time with a touch of light red into it. So there's my ultramarine blue. And a little bit of light red. There. And plenty of water into that. And again, because it's a pre-wet, it is going to dry that much lighter. So allow for that. Stick plenty of paint on. You see what I'm talking about with these aquafine paints? Even though they're student quality, they're a really good pigmented paint. They've actually introduced natural pigment into student quality paints these days, still around me. I love them. There. Now a touch more blue here and there. Just blue, ultramarine blue. There you go. Because ultramarine blue is the same blue as the sky, so keep the colour system the same. Keep the blue the same. And again, wash out, squeeze out, and just add a little bit of light into that here and there. Just by taking paint out of it, like that. Not like that, just like that. Just with the sharp of the 3/4 inch brush, which is damp. You take out better with a damp brush than a totally dry brush. Likewise with the clouds. The brush is still damp rather than totally dry. I'm just wiping it between my fingers, squeezing between my fingers, look. Still damp. Now this one here, I'm not going to pre-wet. I'm going to start off with a little bit of yellow ochre. And they're lovely russety colours on these hills. Yellow ochre there. Bring that down. A little bit of yellow ochre across the top here as well. So that's bringing it in front of that one there, because the colour's stronger. Now, a little bit of burnt sienna. So that's yellow ochre first, now burnt sienna. Just a few touches. There's not as much burnt sienna on there as there is yellow ochre. Now again, blue, ultramarine blue. Sounds strange putting blue on trees or grasses or whatever, but it's not going to come out bright blue because it's going on top of other colours. Look, there, see? Now wash out, squeeze out, and just with a clean damp brush, all I'm going to do is stroke over and start to merge colours. See? Now I need to bring this down a little bit here. And I'm just going down to the line where the water starts. And here and there, there's little bits of white paper showing through. That's absolutely fine. Just get some more light into your picture. There's a little bit of hard stuff there. So I'll just stroke over again. There, smooth it out a little bit. That's better. Easy peasy. Now I've changed to my number 8 round brush. Again, the handle's plastered in acrylics, but there we go. Number 8 round, good usable brush, that one. And what I've got here is Hooker's Green. Hooker's Green, so many people don't like Hooker's Green, and I don't know why, because it's about the most versatile colour in your box. If I take my Hooker's Green out of the equation of the 8 colours that I use all the time, mix the other 7 in one at a time, and I've got 7 different lovely greens. Mix a third colour into some of the mixers, I've got about 5 secondary greens. So I've got loads of different greens from one tube. There, a bit of that. Hooker's Green with a touch of burnt sienna. And all I'm doing, look, is just dab on. Get a few distant trees over there at the base of the hills. Pop it on and let it spread. It's still slightly damp, that. The hill underneath it, I mean. So it will soften and spread a bit. And a bit down here. You don't want too many. You're not painting the Forest of Dean. It's just a few blobs. All the way across there. And you notice I haven't dipped in again as well. These brushes will hold a lot of paint. So from there, I've done all these with just the first dip. We'll have a few on top there as well, I think. Dib dab dob. That's a new technical term for you. Dib dab dob. I'm going up the hill a little bit there. So easy. Now, to the water. And I'm back to my 3/4 inch brush this time for the water. And I've got ultramarine blue with a touch, just a tiny touch of Hooker's Green and a tiny touch of burnt sienna. And plenty of water in there. bit more green actually, that's better. And a lot of water into that, and all I'm doing, look, fill that in. Going more or less up to my pencil line there. Like so. Now bringing it down. And again, you notice, that's the one and only dip of paint. And I filled all that in with one dip. Now I want to get a little bit of light on top of that water, here and there. I'm determined to finish this with one dip. Bit of light onto that. All I'm going to do, look, wash my brush out, squeeze out, just take some paint out, stroke across it. And again, wash out, squeeze out. Have a little bit more of that here. Now, that's a very effective technique, just revealing a bit of light on top of the water. And like all effective techniques, people go, God, that's good, I'll have some more of that. And you end up with no water left, just a load of taken out bits. So keep your effective techniques to a minimum. So don't fiddle. Now, it's back to my 3/4 inch brush again. And I'm going to start off with that bit of path or track there. I've got a little bit of blue and a little bit of light red, plenty of water, bit of a nondescript colour this, loads of water into it. And just fill that in there, look like so. Now wash out, squeeze out, and smooth that out a little bit, look, there. Don't worry about any mess either side of the path, because I'll be covering that up with grass in a minute. Sorry, I'll be covering up the path with grass. That's for southerners. There, that'll do. Leave that now. In the meantime, I'll go to that bushy bit there. Now a bush, don't start painting individual leaves and stalks and twigs. It's a bit of yellow ochre with my 3/4 inch brush. What I'm doing, look, split the brush like that. See that? And again, stipple. Now, a little bit of hooker's green and burnt sienna. Hooker's green, bit of burnt sienna. And again, split the brush and stipple. Now, a little bit of blue. And that's what I said. It sounds odd putting blue into trees, but it's just going to give more depth to those colours that are on there. Splitting the brush again. There, you see, that's not bright blue. There. Now I'm in again with a little bit of yellow ochre, still with that 3/4 inch brush. But the yellow ochre is quite a bit stronger this time. I'll bring that over there, like so. Bumpy bits there, bumpy bits, more technical terms. Now everything's stronger, you see, it's coming further forward. On the outer edge there, like so. And bring that down a bit. Bit more of that over here. No messing, no fiddling about. A little bit stronger there. Bit in there. There, that's better. Now, again, burnt sienna. It's just like that hill over there, really, but everything's stronger. Bit of burnt sienna. Put some of that in here as well. And again, up to the path. Just while that's all still wet, I'm just going to bash a bit of yellow ochre on here. You've got to be fairly quick with this bit because I don't want it to be totally dry when it's finished. Bit of yellow ochre there. This is for the clump of rocks. Bit of raw umber. Raw umber, again, very useful colour because that's the only brown I carry. So you get your raw umber, you've got a nice standalone brown. There you go. Put a touch of blue into it. You've got sepia. Put a touch of burnt sienna into your sepia mix. You've got Van Dyke brown. Take your raw umber and burnt sienna together and you've got burnt umber. 2 different browns, 4 different browns with one tube. Now ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, more or less equal quantities, will give me a black. There you go. Bit of that in there as well. Now, just with an old credit card, actually it's a hotel room key card, scrape, get my rocks, leave a gap between each scrape so that you get in the shadow in between the rocks. Isn't that easy? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. There. Now, I'm introducing a little bit of green into the burnt sienna. So if you remember, I've got burnt sienna coming down here. Now I've got my green, hooker's green, and burnt sienna mixed. Hooker's green, burnt sienna. There. Let's have some grass in amongst this lot as well. Coming around the rocks there. Now flick upwards, look. Grass. Grass. Still with the same mix. Flicking up there, look. In front of the path. And a few hints up here as well. Flick up again. I'll start and bring these down. Strengthen my hooker's green a little bit. Still with hooker's green and burnt sienna, but just made a little bit stronger. There. And flicking upwards. And a little bit of that underneath that bush as well. Still the same mix. Hooker's green, burnt sienna. Touch there, that's better. Now I'm just going to smooth down a little bit, just with a clean damp brush. Into the other colours, look. And finally, a little bit of blue and burnt sienna. And I'm just going to put that here where that little outcrop bit comes down to the water. Like that. And a bit down there. All with the 3/4 inch brush again. Bit of grass there, look. Fingernail jobby. Shall we have a buzzard? Yes, let's have a buzzard. Again with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, but this time with my rigger brush, number 4 rigger brush. Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna mixed, and we'll just have a buzzard about there. And that's a tick with a stick. Now all I need to do is take my pet tape off that. And there we go, a finished painting. That wasn't too difficult, was it? And as I said, the paints I use, here they are, aquafine paints, Dale Rowney aquafine paints. And as you can see, they're small tubes and they're really inexpensive. On my website, I think they're £1.80 per tube. And as you can see, they're good, strong colours. The book that I've just done that from, again, Coastal Landscapes by me, Fred Smith. And everything's in there, all stage by staged. And you've even got the drawings done on watercolour paper at the back of the book. And the brushes, again, aquafine. 1.5 inch flat, 3/4 inch flat, number 8 round, and my number 4 rigger. That's all I ever use, whether it be for acrylics or watercolours. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. I'm going to make another one in a minute. See you soon. Bye bye.